We got a lot to talk about with Petra Viola. It's very rare that I do a follow-up video to a certain perfume, but there have been a lot of questions popping up on my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, even a couple here on YouTube. There were also some complaints or questions about not seeing the bottle enough in the last video when I was talking about how I like the bottle and why I like the bottle. So I just figured I'd make a follow-up video and address all of these questions, comments, and concerns. Let's get started. So let's start off with the bottle. I'm gonna insert a clip of me talking about it on my actual smartphone because I can never get it to focus and look right in this camera. So here we go. Okay, so let me show you guys what I mean about why this bottle is so gorgeous to me. So first of all, look at the, I don't even know what you call this, the enraised, is that what you would call it? Is that a word? 3D floral vinings on the bottle that give it a cool texture when you hold it and also look really, really beautiful. What I also think is really cool is that on the top of the cap there, you will also get the same purple floral vining design, which is really pretty. And what I really like is that when you I'm trying to show it to you, when you look at the bottom of the bottle, well, yes, you get the same floral design on the bottom of the bottle, but inside the bottle, can you see that? Inside the bottle there, you also have the floral design. It's like from top to bottom, they did not miss an opportunity to really lean into the overall purple white design. It's stunning. Truly one of my favorite bottles from Latafa. I talk a lot about Ethereal being my favorite. This one is gorgeous. I love the color. I love it with the white. I love the texture. I love the attention to detail. When you compare this to the original Petra bottle, I always thought that the original Petra bottle was beautiful and gave me Lisbon vibes, but wow, what an upgrade. What a freaking upgrade. So yeah, hopefully guys, that makes a little bit more sense as to why I think it's so gorgeous. All right, so now that you've seen the bottle better, hopefully that makes sense as to what I was describing and why I think it's so beautiful. Truly probably one of my favorite bottles from Latafa. Really, really gorgeous. Now let's get into some of the comparisons and so-called dupes that people are saying Petra allegedly is. So first off, I've been seeing a lot of people say that this is a dupe of Angel Nova from Mugler, which thankfully I own Angel Nova by Mugler. So I was able to compare them to see where is that coming from? Because just off the top of my head, based off of memory, I was like, this does not smell like Mugler to me. What notes do they share in common? They share raspberry in common in the opening, and they also both have like a little bit of some woody notes in the base. So in terms of note similarities, that's it. But notes don't always tell the full story. When I was looking on Google, one of the things that came up was that some people feel like the overall profile of Angel Nova can come across like a sweet candied smell. So I'm guessing some of that is coming from, you know, that type of interpretation or experience that some people are having. But for me personally, when I compare these two directly, I find them to be very different. I think that Angel Nova is a lot sharper. You get a lot more prominent rose in this fragrance. The lychee is also more intense. Overall, Angel Nova in general is a very strong, very loud, and very long-lasting fragrance. Like projects well, lasts long. It's a beast mode fragrance, in my opinion, especially as like a fruity one. But the only similarities that I think these two have is the raspberry note. I think if you can smell raspberry easily, I could see you finding it to have, you know, that type of similar style. But for me, I really think that they are very different. They're both sweet, but they're sweet in different ways. This one is sweeter in a berry way, whereas Viola is sweeter in the cotton candy way. It also, again, feels softer, smoother. It's not as citrusy sharp as this is. It's funny, when I just smell Viola Petra by itself or in comparison to the fragrance that it is allegedly actually duping, Mojave Ghost Absolute, when you make that comparison, Viola Petra seems pretty sharp, pretty like citrusy, very fresh. But when you compare it to a fragrance like Angel Nova, it's like, oh wow, this is actually very tame, very soft, very rounded edges. So I don't think that if you have Angel Nova, that it's going to be redundant to also pick up Petra Viola, because again, it's really the cotton candy. If Petra Viola did not have the cotton candy note, I would not be impressed with the fragrance. I would not really enjoy the fragrance. It's the cotton candy note that makes it for me. It's the fact that you get a cotton candy note that is done in a way that feels elevated, elegant, not overly sugarly sweet, and again, not juvenile, as in not like just a bag full of cotton candy. It is cotton candy with florals. It's a cotton candy floral. Angel Nova is not that. But you know what is a good dupe of Angel Nova, if that is what someone is looking for? This lovely girl right here. This is Latafa Meyer. This is Latafa's dupe of Angel Nova. Latafa is a huge company. I really don't think that they would spend so much time and money developing a fragrance, going through marketing, just to create another fragrance that is duping a fragrance that they've already duped. It just doesn't make any sense. And this is very close to Angel Nova. I think it's an even fresher take on the DNA because of the added violet leaf, which I love. But yeah, it's definitely not duping Angel Nova. Does it have a similar raspberry note? 100%, but they are not twinsies at all, in my opinion. The other comparison that people have been asking me about a lot, and this one I think is a lot more warranted than the Angel Nova comparison. Main Character by Viva Moore, creatively directed by Steven from Redolessence. Now, I completely understand why someone would wonder if this is going to smell exactly like Main Character because of the amount of notes that they share on paper. You're gonna get the cotton candy, the raspberry, the jasmine, and the musk. So I completely understand why someone reading this note breakdown and comparing them would be like, oh, this is just gonna be Main Character. But you guys know that notes, again, don't always tell the full story. And I think that Main Character versus Petra Viola smell even more different from each other than Angel Nova versus Petra. And it's because Main Character is a very, very rich, sweet, strong fragrance that has this like shampoo-y vibe, and the pear blossom note I think is very striking and very strong. Everything in Main Character feels amped up. Everything feels much sweeter. And the caramel adds this very like warm, almost borderline sticky gourmand quality underneath it all that anchors it. And you also get the creamy orris note in the heart. It's very different. Deeper, richer, sweeter, a lot of pear blossom in the opening. Yes, you get cotton candy. Yes, you get raspberry. But those, to me, are not the most dominant notes. I actually think I smell more cotton candy in Viola because the cotton candy is competing with so many more loud notes in Main Character. In Main Character, you have some woods that anchor it. So it still feels relatively light and fresh. In in Petra Viola, you have the woods that anchor the fragrance in the base. So it still feels relatively fresh and light and soft. But in Main Character, you get the caramel. The overall vibe of the fragrance feels very, very different. So once again, would it be redundant to have both of these fragrances in your collection? Absolutely not. But what I would say is that if you want to layer these fragrances together, divine. Main Character with Petra Viola and Main Character with Angel Nova, I think all go together very, very well because they do have those similar notes that will help to latch them together, but different enough to where you don't have to worry that you're buying another dupe for something that you already have, in my opinion. And then the last thing that I want to address about this release is that some people, like myself, were happy that this was very different from the original Petra, and other people were upset about that because they love the original Petra. Here is what I think you have to know if you are going to continue to purchase from Latafa in the future so that you can make better informed decisions and not be disappointed with, your expectations. Latafa, when they are coming out with fragrances that are falling under the same name and they look like they're going to be in the same bottle and they look like they're going to be a so-called flanker, they are not following typical designer flanker rules. They 9 times out of 10 have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Now, I see that all the time with their launches. So I've just kind of assumed that everybody knows that, but clearly not everybody realizes that. And I think that we are just kind of conditioned and trained to think if we see a fragrance that is going to be in the same bottle, it should have or bear some similarities to the original fragrance. And they just don't do it that way. For example, these are the 3 Anna Abiad fragrances. Anna Abiad Scarlet is inspired by Christian Louboutin Fétiche La Rose. That's a rose cherry fragrance. Anna Abiad Poudre is inspired by Black Tie by Celine, which is like a powdery vanilla fragrance. Latafa Anna Abiad Passion is an original creation not inspired by anything. There is no link to any of those fragrances. They are different, just same bottle and same name. We also saw that from the Unghum fragrances. Second song is My Devotion from Dolce & Gabbana. And Unghum is Burberry Goddess from Burberry. Why do they do this? I have no idea. Maybe it's because they feel like it's going to build more hype and excitement about the fragrance because you're like, oh my gosh, I love the original. I can't wait to see what they do about the second one. Maybe it's that they feel like we can't come up with a different bottle design for the amount of releases that we put out. I have no idea. But I just know that if you are seeing a new release from Latafa, that you have to go into it with the understanding that the chances that it's going to have any resemblance to a fragrance that you either loved or hated prior to it is very slim. So I hope that clears up some things, guys. If you do feel like these fragrances smell like any of the ones that I mentioned, I'm not saying that you're wrong or crazy or that your nose is broken. I'm just telling you my perspective as another person who's smelling them and comparing them. And you can take that information and do with it what you will. This is not yet available on Amazon or YouTube shopping, so I am going to again link the actual product link to the TikTok shop. That's where I got it, in the description box below if you're interested in trying out Petra. It's a beautiful, beautiful cotton candy floral fragrance, guys. Highly recommend checking it out if you're into that style of fragrance. And I will see you guys back tomorrow for our next episode.